Good morning, students. So, today you are prepared for reading the story further. And before we start, let us do some introspection. Are you taking good care of yourselves? Yes, you must be. So, taking good care of yourself, how are you doing it? Some of you don't take bath every day. Are you taking bath every day? Very good. And also do not forget to trim your nails. This is the part of our body which we usually neglect. I've seen in school sometimes the boys and girls also have big nails. Do not keep big nails because it can harm you. And use sanitizers. Sanitize your surroundings of the house. Also help your parents in keeping a good and hygienic condition at home. And moreover, you have to take care of your siblings also at home. If you have younger brother or sister, please take care of them also. So that's how we need to take care of ourselves and find out whether we are on the right track, because anything that we do by going on a wrong track will make us regret the things that we have done. So keep yourself safe and keep on studying. This is also a very integral part of your life. Since you are at homes comfortably with your parents, there are other people who are in the front line taking care of others. There are the people from the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses, the policemen also, and some other NGOs also who are extending their support to the poor people. Now you can see how round the clock the doctors and the nurses are striving hard to take care of the patients of coronavirus, so that the death rate can be pulled down. So it is a period of stress, but we need not worry and be anxious, because any situation in life teaches us to be more courageous and strengthens our skills. And also from this story you can see that Murad is a courageous boy. He also knows how to tackle the situation, and whenever he is in such a situation, he tackles it bravely. So this is how we should learn from this story, that we should not be afraid of the difficult situations or times that come to us. Now today, before reading the chapter further, I will just recapitulate what you read yesterday. It is a story of a very imaginative 9-year-old boy who has narrated his childhood experience of achieving his dream in this story. He is very imaginative, and these two belong to Garoglanian tribe from Armenia. They are Armenian boys, and Aram has described Murad, his cousin, who is so caring. He cares about animals, birds, even his cousin. So he is so caring and loving. At the same time, he is bold and courageous. Aram has also described his uncle Khosrow, who has a crazy streak and who is well known for his personality in his family, in his tribe. And Murad also is a descendant or the one who has inherited his uncle's qualities, not his father's. Now we'll move on to see how Aram describes his experience when he rode the horse all alone. So until we get into some efforts, everything seems to be impossible. I hope everybody has a dream, and you know, it is impossible until we do not get into action. And life is such a mystery that your dream may come true if you have the power and courage to face and pursue it. So in the next part of the story, we are going to read about John Byrow, how he is disappointed because he had lost his horse a month ago, and how he comes and complains it to Aram's Uncle Khosrow. And also we will come to know about the hospitality of this tribe. Aram describes that even though they were poor, they were very hospitable, taking care of their guests. So we will also come to know about his riding experience and what happened when he rode the horse all alone. It's a beautiful way of describing, and it's a picturesque description. If you have read the story, we'll read it further today. So we will start reading and continue the story. My cousin Murad raced the horse across a field of dry grass to an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. Dripping wet because of the ditch that the horse had crossed. So Murad took the first turn to ride the horse, and then when he came back, the sun was coming up. So it was daytime now. It was not early morning. Now it is my turn to ride, I said. My cousin Murad got off the horse. Ride, he said. So Murad gave the chance to Aram, and Aram was quite excited to be on the back of the horse. So I leaped to the back of the horse, and for a moment knew the most awful fear imaginable. See, imaginable and awful fear. As he was sitting to ride the horse for the first time, he was awfully afraid, and he could imagine the fear inside him. The horse did not move. Aram did not know how to ride the horse. So Murad told him what to do. Kick into his muscles. Even you must have seen, students, that to ride a horse you need to give a kick into his muscles. My cousin Murad said, "What are you waiting for? We have got to take him back before everybody in the world is up and about." So Murad is telling Aram that, hurry up, you have to ride the horse before it is daytime, before it is a day when the world is up. World is up means the society, the people in the tribe, everybody gets up. So before that we need to go back with the horse. I kicked into the muscles of the horse. I kicked the muscles of the horse. Once again it reared and snorted. So Aram said that when Murad told him to kick the muscles of the horse, he did so, and it reared, first moved back. Rear means to move back, and snorted, breathed heavily, a forceful breath of the horse. Then it began to run. I did not know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Dikran Halabian, where it began to leap over vines. So as Aram was inexperienced, he was riding the horse alone for the first time. He did not know how to control and direct it. So instead of taking the horse towards the irrigation ditch and the fields, the horse started running down the road towards the vineyard of Dikran Halabian. So there was a person, Dikran Halabian, who had a big vineyard there, where it began to leap over the vines, the creepers, the grapevines. And please refer to the pictures of the vineyard and grapevines on the net. You can see how they are grown. There is a big structure of wood made for these vines to climb, and this is how a big structure is erected in the fields. So you can see that picture. And so the horse started leaping, jumping over the vines. The horse leaped over 7 vines before I fell. Then it continued running. So Aram fell down and the horse went on running. Aram, after the 7 vines, after the horse had jumped over 7 vines, Aram fell down. He lost control and he could not control the horse even. Then it continued running. My cousin Murad came running down the road. I am not worried about you, he shouted. We have got to get that horse. You go this way and I will go this way. If you come upon him, be kindly. I will be near. So Murad came running to Aram. What happened? But he was not very much concerned about his cousin at that time, because at that time it was becoming daytime and the people would get up. Murad was concerned how to take the horse back. So he said, come on, let us find out the horse. Where has it gone? And so that we can catch it and take it back home. I continued down the road and my cousin Murad went across the field toward the irrigation ditch. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back. All right, he said, jump on. The whole world is awake now. What will we do? I said. So now they were worried. What will they do? All the people must have been awake by now, and they will spot him or Aram along with the horse, and they will wonder from where these 2 boys have brought the horse. So they were worried. Well, he said, we will either take him back or ride him until tomorrow morning. He did not sound worried. I knew he would hide him and not take him back, not for a while at any rate. So Aram saw that Murad was quite cool, whereas Aram was worried and anxious what will happen. But Murad was quite cool, and he gave a suggestion that they will hide the horse instead of taking it back. Where will we hide him? I said. I know a place, he said. How long ago did you steal this horse? I said. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time and had come for me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride. Now Aram feels that look at the sentence, it suddenly dawned on me. Dawned means something revealing, something coming to light. Dawn is actually the beginning of the day. So here Aram says that suddenly my mind started learning or coming to the fact, knowing the fact that Murad has been riding this horse for a quite long time, but he came to me only this morning. And therefore, when he did not get the answer to the question, how long ago did you steal this horse? This was Aram's conscience, which was telling him that perhaps he had stolen the horse a long time ago. So Aram reiterated his question, and Murad just gave him a blunt answer. He said, "Not until this morning." Whereas Aram felt that he had stolen the horse quite a few days ago and he had been riding it for a quite long time. So Aram was not sure of his answer, and again he asked the question, "Are you telling the truth?" I said, "Of course not," he said, "but if we are found out, that's what you are to say." And very boldly and courageously, Murad tells his cousin Aram that of course not, he's not telling the truth, that he had brought that horse only that particular day. But he suggests him this reply. He says, "If we are found out, if people catch us along with this stolen horse, then you are also to say the same answer. I don't want both of us to be liars." See, at the same time, they want to have the fun, and simultaneously they also are conscious of their the values of their tribe, and they don't want to be spotted as liars. "All you know is that we started riding this morning." So he tells Aram, "So you know that we started riding this morning only." "All right," I said. He walked the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fetwajian. So Murad knew where to hide the horse. So he quietly walked the horse towards a barn of a deserted vineyard, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fetwajian. Fetwajian was a farmer who was proud of his big vineyard, and now it was deserted. Now he did not cultivate anything over there. And in the vineyards you have a barn. Barn is a place or a storehouse where the grains or the fruits, everything is stored, even the husk, also the straw is kept there. So barn is a storehouse. So there were some oats and dry alfalfa in the barn. So when they reached the barn, they saw that there was some oats. Oats is a kind of grain, and dry alfalfa. Alfalfa is a kind of grass, a kind of straw. And there was a big, huge heap of alfalfa there. We began walking home. It wasn't easy, he said, to get the horse to behave so nicely. Now he is telling Aram how it was so difficult to manage and control the horse and behave in a nice manner. At first it wanted to run wild, but as I have told you, I have a way with the horse. I have a way with the horse. That means I know how to manage a horse. I know how to control a horse. I can get it to want it to want to do anything I want it to do. Horses understand me. See how confident he is. He says, "Horses understand me." "How do you do it?" I said. "I have an understanding with the horse," he said. "Yes, but what sort of an understanding?" Now Aram is confused. How can he have an understanding with a horse? And Murad tells him a simple and honest one. "Well," I said, "I wish I knew how to reach an understanding like that with a horse." You are still a small boy," he said. "When you get to be 13, you will know how to do it." So Murad tells, "You are quite younger to me, and you cannot understand this tactus now. When you grow up to be 13 years of age like me, then only you can understand how to develop an understanding with a horse." So this is how the two boys talked to each other, and Murad told him how he had found the horse and tamed it. And finally, when they were back home after hiding the horse, Aram says, I went home and ate a hearty breakfast. That afternoon, my uncle Khosrow came to our house for coffee and cigarettes. Now, students, please note that a hearty breakfast. Hearty breakfast, when do you have hearty breakfast? When you feel very excited and happy, when you are when you have achieved something in life and you feel so happy and light, at that time you really relish and enjoy your breakfast and dinner. So this is how Adam was very happy, and so he enjoyed his breakfast. He says, I ate an hearty breakfast. That afternoon, my uncle Khosrow came to our house for coffee and cigarettes. He sat in the parlor, sipping and smoking and remembering the old country. Then another visitor arrived, a farmer named John Biro, an Assyrian. John Biro belonged to Assyria, and he was a friend of Uncle Khosrow. These people belonged to Armenia, and whereas John Biro belonged to Assyria. Out of loneliness, had learned to speak Armenian. So, as he was friend of this Armenian family, he had tried to learn to speak Armenian language. My mother brought the lonely visitor coffee and tobacco, and he rolled a cigarette and sipped and smoked. And then at last, sighing sadly, he said, my white horse, which was stolen last month, is still gone. So Aram remembers that how sad he was, and he told his mother that the horse which was stolen last month has not still returned, it is still gone. I cannot understand it. My uncle Khosrow became very irritated and shouted, it is no harm. What is the loss of a horse? Haven't we all lost the homeland? What is this crying over a horse? So uncle was irritated at this, and he shouted at John Biro, and he said, what are you cribbing and crying over the loss of a horse? It's just nothing. We have lost our homeland. As I told you yesterday also, that they had to leave their homeland, their motherland, their country, and had to migrate to California. So they had to leave everything and come. So they had in fact lost everything. That may be all right for you, a city dweller, to say, John Biro said, but what of my Surrey? What good is a Surrey without a horse? So John Biro was still disappointed, and he was still very sad, and he told uncle, it may be all right for you. You city dwellers, you were rich once upon a time and you lost everything. For you it is good, but I am a poor man, and what about my Surrey? Surrey is a light cart which is attached which is driven by a horse. So he was telling, when my horse is lost, what good is a Surrey without a horse? What will I do with this cart? The cart that is pulled by my horse. It's lying useless. Pay no attention to it, my uncle Khosrow roared. I walked 10 miles to get here, John Biro said. You have legs, my uncle Khosrow shouted. So John Biro said, I have walked 10 miles to come to your place, just to listen to your shoutings. So Uncle Khosrow said, pay no attention to it. You have legs, so you have come. My left leg pains me, the farmer said. Pay no attention to it, my uncle Khosrow roared. See how Aram is describing what had happened. He is giving you a picturesque description. You can just imagine this picture, Uncle Khosrow and John Biro talking to each other. And he said, my legs are paining. I can't ride a horse. I can't come in the horse cart. And now my legs are paining because I walked 10 miles to come to your place. And Uncle Khosrow again shouted and snapped at him and told him that pay no attention to it. That horse cost me $60, the farmer said. I spit on money, my Uncle Khosrow said. My uncle said, I spit on money. I don't give a damn. I don't bother about money. Whereas it was an expensive affair for John Biro. And he says that he had bought the horse for $60. How can he imagine to lose the horse? So he got up and stalked out of the house, slamming the screen door. My mother explained. So my mother, who was so considerate and polite, when she saw that John Barrow had become angry, she went up to him and told him that he has a gentle heart, she said. It is simply that he is homesick and such a large man. He has a gentle heart. Gentle heart. So she says, don't be angry because of Uncle Khusro, because Uncle Khusro does not mean that he gets angry, he is irritated, but it is because of his homesickness. Homesickness, again, his homeland. He wants to go back to his country, which he cannot do, and therefore, but he is a gentle man, he is a large man, he is a large-hearted man, and he does not mean to hurt you by saying all that. So in this way, she was consoling John Barrow. The farmer went away. The farmer, John Barrow, went away, and I ran over to my cousin Murad's house. Now Aram was very conscious because he had heard John Barrow saying about his lost horse. And so he ran to Murad's house. He was sitting under a peach tree, trying to repair the hurt wing of a young robin which could not fly. He was talking to the bird. See, another instance telling how Murad was considerate to the birds even. Murad had seen a young robin which had a hurt wing, and so he was sitting under the peach tree and trying to give some kind of help to the young robin. And he was talking to the bird. What is it he said? So when he saw Aram, he asked him, why have you come here? The farmer John Barrow, I said, he visited our house. He wants his horse. You have had it a month. I want you to promise not to take it back until I learn to ride. Now Aram was concerned about his learning to ride. He was concerned that if John Barrow demands it, Murad should not return the horse to him. Then Murad tells him, it will take a year to learn to ride. My cousin Murad said, we could keep the horse a year, I said. Now Aram was adamant, and he says, even if I take 1 year's time to learn the riding of the horse, doesn't matter, we'll keep the horse for a year. And my cousin Murad leaped to his feet. What? He roared. Are you inviting a member of the Garoglenian family to steal? The horse must go back to its true owner. So now you can know that Murad knew that its true owner was John Barrow. And so he tells Aram that we cannot be called as thieves. We cannot bring that blotch to our Garoglenian family. If we keep the horse for a year, we will be accused of stealing the horse. When then? I said. In 6 months at the latest, he said. He threw the bird into the air. The bird tried hard, almost fell twice, but at last flew away, high and straight. So the bird was cured of the wound was cured, and though it could not fly initially, but later on it flew away. Early every morning for 2 weeks, my cousin Murad and I took the horse out of the barn of the deserted vineyard where we were hiding it and rode it. And every morning the horse, when it was my turn to ride alone, leaped over the grapevines and small trees and threw me and ran away. So Aram is telling about his experience, and he says, for another 15 days, 2 weeks, his cousin Murad and he himself used to take the horse out of the barn, ride the horse, and then again hide it there. So this they used to do every morning, and every morning when it was his turn, the horse used to leap over the vines and he used to fall down. Nevertheless, I hoped in time to learn to ride the way my cousin Murad rode. So even though he fell down many a time, Aram felt that he will be able to learn riding the horse just like an expert rider like Murad. One morning on the way to Fetwazian's deserted vineyard, we ran into the farmer John Byro, who was on his way to town. Let me do the talking, my cousin Murad said. I have a way with the farmers. See, as he was confident that he can control the situation with the horse, and he told Aram that I have a way with the horse. Similarly, he tells Aram, don't be afraid. When they met John Byro suddenly on the way, and he said, I have a way with the farmers. I know how to talk to John Byro. Good morning, John Byro, my cousin Murad said to the farmer. The farmer studied the horse eagerly. Now pay attention to the word eagerly. As the farmer had lost his horse, he used to eagerly look at every horse, because he used to feel that he may one day find his horse. Good morning, son of my friends, he said. What is the name of your horse? So when they were going back to hide the horse at the barn belonging to Fetwazian, there they met John Byro on the way, and John Byro was very keenly looking at the horse, and he wished good morning to son of my friends, he says. What is the name of your horse? My heart, my cousin Murad said in Armenian. So Murad gave a reply in Armenian language, and he says the name of the horse is my heart. Students, do you remember what was the nickname that he had given to the horse earlier when he was riding along with Aram? Yes, it was Vezire. Now it is my heart. A lovely name, John Byro said, for a lovely horse. I could swear it is the horse that was stolen from me many weeks ago. May I look into his mouth? So John Byro was so familiar to his horse that he possessed, and he feels that if he looks at the horse and examines the horse, he can identify his horse. He was so close to his horse, and he says, yeah, very lovely name and a lovely horse too. So my horse was stolen a few weeks ago, so let me see, can I see the mouth of the horse? Of course, Murad said. The farmer looked into the mouth of the horse. Tooth for tooth, he said. Tooth for tooth means he was able to recognize that it is the same kind of the structure of the tooth that his horse had. And he says, I would swear it is my horse if I did not know your parents. And John Byro tells the boys that if he did not know his parents as his friend, he would have sworn in that it was his horse. The fame of your family for honesty is well known to me. So John Byro, because he knew his family, Murad's family and Aram's family, and he was so close to them, he was so well acquainted with them that he did not want to accuse the boys of his friend, and therefore he says, I also know the honesty of your family and the tribe that is famous for. Yet the horse is the twin of my horse. So I think this horse which you are having is a twin of my horse. A suspicious man would believe his eyes instead of his heart. A suspicious man would believe his eyes instead of his heart. So though I am suspicious, but I believe my eyes, and I feel that it is my horse instead of believing my heart. Good day, my young friends. Good day, John Byro, my cousin Murad said. Early the following morning, we took the horse to John Byro's vineyard and put it in the barn. The dogs followed us around without making a sound. So, early in the morning, Following morning, next morning, they took the horse to John Byro's vineyard and put it in the barn. The dogs were well acquainted with the horse, so they did not make any noise. They did not bark at them. The dogs, I whispered to my cousin Murad, I thought they would bark. They would at somebody else, he said. I have a way with the dogs. So he has a way with the horse, he has an understanding with the farmers, he has a way with the dogs too. And Aram was worried that why did the dogs not bark? My cousin Murad put his arms around the horse, pressed his nose into the horse's nose, patted it, and then we went away. That afternoon, John Byro came to our house in his surrey and showed my mother the horse that had been stolen and returned. So when John Byro got his horse back, he was very happy and delighted, and he immediately went to Aram's house and showed the horse to his mother. I do not know what to think, he said. The horse is stronger than ever, better tempered too. I thank God. My uncle Khosrow, who was in the parlor, became irritated and shouted, Quiet man, quiet. Your horse has been returned. Pay no attention to it. So Uncle Khosrow, he shouted at John Byro again, and he said, it's okay. Now you have got your horse back, so pay no attention to it. But John Byro felt that the horse had become stronger than ever, and it was a better tempered horse. So this is how Aram has described his experience when he was a small boy, and he has described his uncle, his tribe, his cousin Murad. Aram's dream had come true because Aram had a passion for it. As I told you earlier, that this should be the passion and courage to follow your dreams. So students, we have come to the end of this story now, and you can also think of such stories. See what is the style of writing. You can see the dialogues have been incorporated in the story. The narrator has written, the author has written the story from narrator's point of view, and the dialogues are used there, which shows what dialogue has been had been used at that time between two persons, be it John Byro or Uncle Khosrow or Murad or Aram. And this is how you can also write a story on your childhood experience you must have had, or even you can write about some member of your family who is similar to Uncle Khosrow, or who has a kind of special quality in him which keeps him a different person from the other members of the family. Thank you.